Hello everyone, Ted Clayton here. On this video, what I'm going to be doing is listing the reasons, sharing the reasons as to why I'm now creating Blackpill content. And specifically, why at this point in time I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to this topic. First off, moving forward, I will be discussing Black Pill content as I see fit, if I see something relevant, etc., etc. However, what I started to notice is, upon reflection, that I've been living within this consciousness of Black Pill for some time. I just didn't know it. I wasn't aware of the communities or just the Black Pill community as a whole, just different um, YouTube channels, forums, etc., etc. So I basically didn't know that there was it was a thing. What I was, what I thought was happening was me challenging or further exercising, analyzing red pill theories. But what in actuality was going on was an evolution. So when I saw that it was an actual thing, then the next thing that came to mind was, oh, I actually have a lot. I think I may have a lot to share on this. So this would be a great opportunity to do that. And just for the record, before really acknowledging this, formally speaking, I didn't know what Black Pill was. And this is again in context of being within, seeing all this red pill content. I didn't know what Black Pill was. I was ignorant to it. I was seeing things here and there, but it just basically didn't catch my interest. It wasn't as I was opposed to anything. It just didn't catch my interest. So I was ignorant of what it actually was. But what ended up happening was I started. I actually got into it. Found me. The Black Pill found me, as opposed to me looking for it. I was searching some other stuff, and the YouTube creator was talking about, had mentioned someone, and then I checked out their channel. They were talking about it, but not directly. And then I saw Coach Red Pill's video where he mentioned Wheat Waffles, the 3 series. Then I checked that out and I said, oh, wait a minute, that's what this guy was talking about. So that's how I got into it. And again, it just came back to, I've been basically, I've been living this in this reality for some time. And I'm not talking about retroactively speaking, I'm talking about in that conscious understanding of things and that natural evolution of things. Okay, so I have 3 reasons here that I have listed as to why I'm doing this. And this video is more for, at this time, I'm not a big time YouTuber or anything like that. So this is more for archival purposes, so people can have a frame of reference as to the shift in content. So number one is relevance to society. Specifically, what I'm alluding to here is regression versus progression. Now, I have 3 points here where these are things that we need to be aware of, possibilities, just 3 things to be aware of. So, one is men being withdrawing from society. This can have all types of ramifications. Second is an imbalance in society, and I think most people, the average person, could kind of see this. They may not see the depth of it, but they do see it. And thirdly, which I think is the most important and may make some people uncomfortable, but I'm just gonna, say it straight up, just outright, and that's violence. Now, we don't always have to suggest physical violence, but it can also be psychological, where we may have men that may be frustrated with women, but then on the flip side, women that would be who have certain expectations of men, and how that may play out. One footnote that I want to add here is the way I see this, or how I really started to map things out, was the micro to the macro. What I mean by this is my personal experience, and then thought to myself, okay, if this is what's going on, and then looking at the mainstream, but then also really analyzing what's going on, the terrain, my surroundings, society, et cetera, it was, well, I wonder what's, you know, I wonder how's that times X, right? Times, if you multiplied it, in essence, with other men, with more men. And I mean, I've seen some weird stuff. I remember one time, just a quick side note, I remember one time where I was at this place called, I don't want to blow them up, so I'm not going to name the name, but it was a hotel in Chinatown in New York City. And there was this hotel, there was, I think, two floors allotted strictly for Asian men. Now, I'm sort of implying something here. I am assuming, but it was just this thing of just all these men in just one floor, and to me, it just struck me as, and I also dated this Chinese girl, and her mother didn't really have a good relationship with her husband. So I'm just thinking, these just like all rejects, things like that, and then they're just here. But I just didn't know how to process it. Anyway, I digress. Forgive me for that. The second reason is biological programming versus what is imposed by excuse me, by society. Uh, in essence, my body is freaking out. If I had to really be concise with that point. So we are all wired in a certain way. However, if society as a whole is not respecting that, then that presents a conflict. And where I see it being an issue is when there's unrealistic or disproportionate kind of expectations or evaluations of things, and how that plays out. Let's see. What else I have here? Um, for context, and my notes are kind of all over the place because I just have to. So just bear with me, but I have to just write it down before I forget it. Um, so present. Forgive me if this is not like a more fluid presentation. That's kind of all my stuff, because again, I have to kind of put it out there and then just add on to it as I'm sharing this. But again, it's to not forget it. So I'm a late millennial. So again, for context. Um, in regards to the biological programming, I see it as a reflection of the insecurity of society. I've said this before, where, for instance, with someone like me, my issue in relation to Blackpill is height. And I think men don't want more competition. And there's also a thing of ego where it's, if this guy is short, how is he better than me? Well, maybe height doesn't have anything to do with my brain and my, genetics, et cetera, et cetera. And then with women, it's vanity and insecurity. But it's not fair that I have to hold the weight. I'm so talking about me personally. I have to hold the weight of that. So again, this is me sharing my thoughts, observations, and analysis for further discussion online. Just in public for again for greater discussion, and just to maybe try to find some resolution in this whole thing. There's also a psychological component with this where I just want to get it out my system. So there's that also. Again, with the biological programming, yeah, my body is basically, if we look at this in terms of the caveman perspective of things, my brain is basically the primal part of my brain is basically saying, hey, we're getting pretty old. Why aren't don't we have children? What's going on here? Well, here's the thing. Uh, Society is saying, or my village is saying this. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And then there's, then the brain is kind of like, well, okay, now what? So it's kind of like that going on. Okay, and then third, so again, just it's two. Excuse me. One is the relevance to society, where I'm sharing this, and two is biological programming. So I'm now drawing it more in personally as to why I want to talk about these things, just the weight of the whole situation and the relevance to it. Again, multiplying it times, other men. And lastly, I have credibility. I feel that I have um, the credibility to the authority to speak on something like this because one, I'm smart, educated, and also emotionally intelligent. But educated, let's just focus on that for 1 second. I graduated New York University, although after sharing a video like this, they may renounce my admission there, or they may just erase me from their records. However, I am speaking about this from a purely academic point of view, even though I may be. And I always look at the fact, my background there, or my being there. I always take things like that into account because I present whatever I talk about in a purely academic way. Now, whether it's popular or not, that's a different story. But the reason why I bring up New York University is because it's not just to, what's the word I'm looking for? Forgive me, I'm kind of speechless right now. But it's not to name drop, but I was actually accepted at the university, and I think some people may know what I'm talking about. So it wasn't I was just there and just did my classes and then went to class, took my exams, and then left. I was actually accepted. So I think that speaks a lot in terms of my character, the adversities I had to go through, what people think of me, et cetera, et cetera. I think you guys know where I'm going with that. Can read between the lines, emotionally intelligent. I've just been through a lot of stuff, different circles. I come from the lower class. I've been through a lot of different been amongst different circles of people, many different experiences, traveled a fair amount. So I've seen a lot. Well spoken. Hopefully, you guys can see that. Uh, and I have listed. I do think I have I can articulate things pretty well. I'm skilled at that and sharing my ideas. So when we have these ideas, especially when it's something very unpopular and I have good intent, then I want to express it not only just neutrally, of course, but in the most effective way possible, in the most digestible way possible. So that, because the thing is, when it's something sensitive, people are naturally going to have their defenses up. But when it's broken down, just flat out direct, but then really. Really just taken apart, then I think at least people that are reasonable, because there's people gonna feel whatever they want, they're gonna be a little more accepting towards these ideas, or at least acknowledge them and listen. Will they change? Maybe not, but listening will go a long way. Where it's like, well, I don't really agree with them, but I did hear about this kind of thing going on here, or this kind of situation that we're dealing with. Uh, and I will say, as a footnote to that, I am handsome. So, in regards to the black pill, if you just stumbled on this video, um, superficiality is definitely um, one of the hallmarks of the whole ideology of the whole that the black pill understanding, where attraction is the biggest thing. Um, well, not just attraction, but more of a focus on our base desires, base instincts. That's more of a driving force, but people are just not conscious of it. Okay. And there may be some people in the Black Pill community that, I'm just not, saying it outright, what it is. But again, I'm just trying to, just break this down in a more just digestible way as possible. And just to, if people want to look more into it, then that's that. And lastly, I have my personal background. Again, this goes into coming from the lower class to being amongst the upper class, at least being in different circles. Again, my education, work experience. I know that sounds kind of cheesy. That mean, at least for what it's worth, where being that shows at least my level of discipline and the different places that I've been to where I had to meet certain standards. So yeah, that hopefully says a lot about my character. And then there's me having been involved in the entertainment industry. And what I think that would say is me pushing the limits, pushing myself, and then being accepted in that world, being recognized in that world. Hopefully that says something. I think people will kind of take that into account when it comes to who is sharing these ideas where, okay, this is not just somebody who's some guy living in their basement or whatever the case may be. This is somebody who's actually been in the world, who's experienced many things, who's been through, who's achieved a lot, and then they have this kind of really, unpopular thing that they want to share. Again, it's up to them if they want to accept it or not, but maybe that will make people more willing to listen. I want to share a quick comment from something I saw on YouTube, and I think it kind of sums everything up. Just give me one moment. Let me just pull up the screenshot here. And again, this is just to see like the state of affairs that we're in right now. Okay, so this was, I don't even remember what video this was, but again, I'm just going to read the comments from some random person. So this person says, and apparently it's from 2 years ago, I never used to understand why people committed suicide, but it's becoming extremely evident to me as to why someone would want to do it. When you are biologically programmed, again, that was another note, that was one of the points that I made. When you are biologically programmed to desire women, but you'll never have a woman in your life due to things out of your control. It can drive someone to depression and insanity. It eliminates any sense of purpose and hope. I wouldn't do it, but I completely understand why someone would. I thought this was well worded. It checked all the boxes, very concise. This is basically what Blackpill is, what's going on. So, look, if society doesn't want to acknowledge this, that's that. But I'm very confident that there's some people that will at least listen and just take note of it. And another reason is there's also the fact, all the reasons I listed before, things like this are quickly banned. So that's why I make sure to, that's why I wanted to, state these reasons, or why I feel I'd be more effective, because even if that were to happen, if people were to look into who I am, then they would say, well, this guy doesn't look crazy. And then, maybe a conversation can be had after that. Then there's also just revenge. I say that in jest, but also there's a little bit of truth to it where, this stuff is frustrating, and that's why you see my face. A lot of people don't put their face out there, and who knows what I may be dealing with. But again, what I'm making sure that I do is, look, people are going to feel however they want to, but it's also people who know me know me. If they're being honest with themselves, if they're not afraid, they can verify who I am. And then again, when it comes to my background, people can look that up. And once they see that, they'll see, well, this guy is not crazy. And that's that. This guy's, he's done a lot. He seems like a good person. He seems pretty intelligent. Doesn't seem crazy. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. Again, I just have my notes kind of all over the place, but just wanted to put this out there again for context. All right, that's all for now. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the rest of your day.